Hello there. Yeah, this is what I do for you, dear viewers. I'm out at Central Park again. It's sort of a kind of a nice day. I wanted to be in the sun because it's not that warm, but it is warm, getting warm now that the sun is out. And I just wanted to shoot one of my videos. And I looked for a place to be, a place to sit. And here I found this really kind of nifty little root seat by this tree. Oh, there's the book, Earth to Moon by Moon Unit Zappa. So yeah, I think I'm just going to sit on that little root there and do my video from here. All right. The book is Earth to Moon by Moon Unit Zappa. It is a memoir. If you want to read a sort of gossipy, name-dropping Hollywood nepotism, Nepo baby story that ends up happily ever after with fame and fortune, and the big happy family together. This isn't it. This is a full, real memoir of real life. You might want to read it. It's relevant even if you're not a Hollywood personality, if you're yourself, if you don't even know any Hollywood personality. It might be relevant to you if you were born, if you had a father, if you had a mother, either or both, and if you went through life having to get money and get attention from people and all these things, because that's what is dealt with in the book here. And I think it's a really very good book, very well done, and as I said, it's not a story that ends happily. It's a story that is ongoing of a dysfunctional family, a celebrity, one person who got very, very famous, and in a sort of a quirk in a particular time and particular space in American life here. Something that is completely unnatural, that Frank Zappa became what he was. It's not like humans have always had rock stars, Now, what is my relationship with this? What did I read it? I remember when Moon Unit Zappa was born. She was born in 1967. And she was the first child of Frank and Gail Zappa. And I remember Moon Unit being born, and what a cute name Moon Unit had. That's so Frank, and I was a Frank Zappa fan for a few years. Frank Zappa, was particularly good for high school age boys. At least he was then, when it was all happening, you see. I really liked, We're Only in It for the Money, which I had, and listened to that one. And I ended up seeing Frank Zappa perform 3 times throughout his career. Twice with the Mothers of Invention, so early. First time was in 1970, in the summer of 1970, and then later in No, it was it's the summer of '69, And then in spring of 1970 here in New York, I saw the Mother's Invention at the Fillmore East. And my very first time to come to New York, I came through and bought the tickets, and then I saw the Mothers again at the Fillmore East. And I didn't know anything about New York or where I was. Now, right now, I live quite near where I came to see where the Fillmore East was. I've lived in that neighborhood for several years. But anyway, so I was a Frank Zappa fan. I saw him once again later, and he's kind of somebody that got revised in my head, a revision of as I learned more things about people and life. A lot of his work just didn't have enough depth to stand up. It seems like the satire that he was producing was not as strong as it was like We're Only in It for the Money, a satire about hippies. She doesn't really talk about his work at all, really. Only Valley Girl, which she participated in. So she says that she came up with the idea in order to get in touch with her dad, to see her dad. They had to be quiet during the day because Dad would sleep during the day and worked all night in his studio. When he was around, he would only be around 6 months out of the year or whatever, because of the rest of the time he was on tour, either in America or somewhere overseas. So she says that she slipped a note. He had been amused by her mocking of the Valley Girl accent, and that she slipped him a note one day in his studio at night. And he came and woke her up and had her come down and record the thing that ultimately became Valley Girl and ultimately became Frank Zappa's biggest hit, and kind of late. So it really it was sort of a weirdness for the family in that here this daughter who's not really respected all that much. It's everybody kowtows and respects Frank. Everybody's out of Frank's way so he can work. So there's Frank, and then there's Gail, and that's the pecking order. Gail is running the house and ultimately runs the business, and has 3 more kids. So there's 4 kids ultimately. And you wonder what the deal is with Gail. Gail is a troubling figure in the book. Gail is not nice. Gail is mean to Moon, and ultimately very mean. Even when she dies, when she splits up everything in an unequitable way, and not the way Frank wanted everything to be split equally amongst the kids. Gail favored the 2 younger, and that was, a shitty thing to do. So, and Gail, looking at all the family dynamic, Gail is from a Catholic family, as Frank is. They're, Italian. I'm not sure if Gail was Italian or what, but anyway, so Gail's family had 7 children, and she was the oldest. So Gail basically spent her life taking care of, at least, up until her whatever 40s, well, I don't know, 50s, 60s, minding children. First, her 6 siblings, and then her own 4 children. So so she she seemed to kind of resent the whole thing, but yet, kind of found herself into it or put herself into it. So that's kind of weird. And yeah, as I said, she ultimately is running the business. So somehow she figured out how to keep Frank attached and running the business. So what Moon does talk about her father having, open affairs or open, screwing other women, groupies on the road, whatever. One serious relationship in Germany, Goethe, who he considers leaving the family for, but ultimately does not. And Gail had the nest all worked out for him, to forward his work, to forward the genius. So all he basically had to do was sleep and work. Didn't tend to anything around the house. Didn't even drive. He was driven around, had to be driven around by Gail because he wasn't driving. So, it was kind of an extreme sort of dependence, and having the studio be put in the home kept him in the home. So everything was designed, it seemed, by Gail, and with acknowledgement and agreement by Frank, of course, to set up their connection in this way, that the studio's in the basement, so he's always at home, and ultimately she is going to be the manager and run the business. So he can't just sort of take off. He's a little trapped in all this. So he doesn't really spend that much time with the children, and yeah. So Valley Girl makes a big hit, and she never really knows how much money she made. They're terrible with money. Ultimately, when he gets sick, they don't even have health insurance for him. So he owns a Rolls Royce, but has no health insurance. So brown shoes don't make it, but a Rolls Royce, you can buy have a Rolls Royce. So I guess he does have a certain amount of the trappings of rock stardom. He was as I said, a revisionist point of view from here as an older man. I see Frank Zappa, as somebody who had certainly something to say musically, but ultimately did not have that much to say in lyrics or in thought, because he had a sort of infantile head as far as a lot of stuff went, like some of the satires I said, incorrect, like Bobby Brown, for instance, which is just sort of a mocking of a gay character, and Valley Girls too is punching down. Valley Girls is about dumb girls, and there's a line in it, the chorus that Frank or whoever is singing, that there's nothing in a head, that kind of thing, which it's not high level satire from old Frank there. So another thing about Frank and Gail as parents is that they taught their children to call them Frank and Gail, not to call them mom and dad. So that's in a sense democratic, anarchistic, whatever. But it could also be a way of shunning the sort of responsibility. If I'm not taking on that role, that name of dad or mom, maybe I won't have to fulfill that particular very difficult, challenging, and something that just ages one role. So I wanted to read a couple of things that jumped out at me from Moon's book. here she's talking about finding relationships and so forth. Outwardly, I blame everything on the fact that guys are afraid of my rock icon dad. Inwardly, I fear it's because all guys are like my dad. No one loves honesty, directness, earnestness, vulnerability. No one loves a reader. I thought kind of clever to put that in a book that's going to be read by readers, of course. So, the longer I'm away, the more clearly I see that my father and the culture at large have been giving me the steady message that women have feelings that don't matter, that women are fuck toys wrapped in lies about female empowerment and responsibility for their own orgasm. To make things weirder, I've met almost all my entertainment heroes, and they seem not an iota happier, just less financially insecure and more party prone. I know that my exposure to art and entertainment is rare, and I should feel lucky, or at least cool. But without strong family love, what is the point of achieving? What is the point of anything? Frank was very focused on his music, as I've said here. And in a way, he's only going to live through that. And I think that many of us attempt to live through media, maybe men more than women, attempt to live through work in the media. Like just be a movie star, or just be a writer, or I kind of gotten involved in the same kind of thing myself. So she says in a book that Frank could have had surgery to remove his prostate, and he refused to do that because it was very important to him to retain his sexuality, and he did not want that interrupted. So there's this whole, and she also states that sort of his sex thing was what drove his work, as if when he's as if he needs to have all these women coming to him in order to keep working, and I guess vice versa, that you produce the work and you get the women. So in a sense, he's presented as another addict musician, but instead of one that's fueling itself with cocaine or something, he's fueling himself with these women and sex. So anyway, it's all kind of interesting. Anyway, so there's all of this conflict between Frank and Gail, and that's apparent to everyone in the house. And Frank walks around with nude, and now the children don't talk to each. So it's not the tight knit Italian family that you would suppose. It's like at the end of the book, she said, well, my brothers and sisters don't talk to her. So that's kind of where it is left. And, it's really about that kind of dysfunction in family, and how people can't share themselves with one another, and how, like dad just gets all caught up in this symbolic stuff, this making music and this career and this fame and fortune, which is not holistic. He doesn't have a holistic life at all. So that's what the system requires of people. So it's a good picture of that. What happens in fame and what happens to families in fame. When you see the outside picture of everything kind of looking all right, or whatever, and when really what's going on is just like what's going on in your family, like people not being able to talk to one another, and not really having a connection. And that's what goes on here. She's craving connection from her father, and some understanding and empathy from her mother, and getting really neither from both these. Oh, she talks about how they smoke. They both smoke like crazy. So anyway, yeah, they're kind of old school people. No drugs. So Moon doesn't have any drugs either. Maybe Moon needs an ayahuasca session or two to go to the next level or something. But I don't know what Moon needs, because I haven't had that sort of experience. But and she had a daughter, so there's that too. But had a hard time finding love. So yeah, it's a really good book, and I would suggest reading or listening to. Probably would be better. Moon Unit's memoir. I listened to her. There are some interviews around. I will post a link to one I thought that was pretty good. Otherwise, there's one with Dweezil, which is just stupid, because he's sort of like Frank would be, making little pee-pee jokes. Basically, it's like, you said penis. So something about my dad's cock, so because she does mention that he walks around, and she can see it. She can see it in his pants, his tight pants, because he doesn't wear underwear, because fashionable rock and roll stuff. So it's mentioned several times in the book, and Dweezil just is all about that on his stupid rock and roll podcast that he has with some other rock dudes. And Dweezil's like 50 years old, so whatever. So that's I think all I'm going to say about that book, and thanks for watching.